Hello lovely people, how y'all doing today? Today we're talking about one of America's biggest comic exports. No other than the incredibly talented comic stand-up and former America's Daily Show host, Trevor Noah. We're looking a bit into his experience growing up in South Africa under apartheid. The Daily Show host was only 10 years old when apartheid came to an end, however his experience under the regime left a lasting impact on his life and career. Trevor Noah was born in 1984 in Johannesburg, South Africa to a white Swiss father and a black mother. Race was the country's defining cultural and legal factor under apartheid laws, which officially governed South Africa between 1948 and 1994. The Mixed Marriages Act of 1949 prohibited marriage between whites and people of color, and other laws enacted early in the regime prohibited people of different races from even living in the same neighborhood. When Noah and his mother were out in public, Noah's mother had to pretend to be a stranger to her son. While apartheid's political hold on the country was gradually eroding by the mid-1980s, Noah's childhood was still shaped by the legal and cultural power it wielded. Because his very existence was criminal, he spent his early years in some kind of hiding, whether literal or in plain sight. When I was staying with the family in Soweto, my grandmother kept me locked in the house. If the police did show up, it was a never-ending game of hide and seek, he once stated. Even when they were out in public, Noah's mother, Patricia, would often pretend to be a stranger, or at least someone other than his mother, because it was the only way for them to be outside together without the authorities bothering his mother and arresting her for having a biracial child. It didn't help that his neighbors and other community members were frequently collaborators in the police state's surveillance and strict enforcement of racial bigotry and segregation. Apartheid ended when Noah was 10, but cultural attitudes took longer to change. While Noah's parents were divorced, his mother would occasionally visit his father at his apartment complex in a white neighborhood, and she was frequently caught doing so, which resulted in her being sent away to prison for weeks at a time. The government didn't bother informing her family about these stints in jail, resulting in a life filled with even more fear and paranoia. South Africa's apartheid regime fell in 1994, thanks to the efforts of Nelson Mandela and generations of freedom fighters. Noah was 10 years old at the time, ready to embrace a new kind of freedom, but attitudes took longer to change, and the economic inequality created by nearly 50 years of segregation meant that his struggles continued. Noah spent most of his adolescence and early adulthood on the streets of Alexandra, a place he refers to as the Hood. He didn't have enough money for college, so he hustled for all the money he could get. Noah worked as a DJ, sold counterfeit CDs, moved very likely stolen goods, and all sorts odd jobs here and there. To make matters worse, while Noah's mother moved on to a new relationship, the man she married turned out to be an abusive alcoholic. Things came to a head only after she left the stepfather in 2009, when the stepfather, jealous of her new engagement, shot Noah's mother in the back of the head. The bullet narrowly missed her brain, sparing her life. I remember after the shooting, my mother was in the hospital, and all I felt was rage. My mother said to me, "Don't hate him for doing this, but rather pity him because he too is a victim, in his own way, of a world that has thrust upon him an idea of masculinity that he has subscribed to and is now a part of," Noah recalled. Noah credits his mother as the moral center of his life. She taught him how to be decent, funny, and how to combine the two in order to ascend to the heights he has now reached. Noah penned in his memoir, "I thought I was the hero of my story, but as I wrote it, I realized that my mother was the hero. I was lucky enough to be in the shadow of a giant, and I hope I have enough of her magic dust to be as brave as she was and continues to be."